Times app this morning, you can see a graph of reported anti-Semitic incidents last year recorded by the Jewish charity, the Community Security Trust. From January to September, there were about 100 a month. Then came October the 7th when Hamas attacked Israel. There was a wave of sympathy for the many victims in this country, but also a wave of hate. Over 1,000 incidents were reported in October, and the levels have remained high ever since. All told, more than 4,000 anti-Semitic incidents were recorded in 2023, almost twice as many as the previous record of 2 years ago. What can be done about this to try to protect Jewish people and reduce inter-community tensions? Let's speak to two people, to Rabbi David Mason, who's Executive Director of HIAS+JCORE, a Jewish organisation that supports refugees and asylum seekers. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
You're very welcome. And also to Imam Monawar Hussain, who is founder of the Oxford Foundation, which seeks to promote interfaith harmony. Good morning.
Good morning.
Rabbi Mason, first of all, I presume that you probably knew that this kind of level of incidents was going to be revealed?
Yeah, again, thanks for having me on. And I think we should probably pay tribute to the CST for doing amazing work in recording this. And I think, yes, for many Jewish people, this is reflecting how they feel. It's no surprise. I think what's probably shocking is that there is quite a growth of incidents in anti-Semitism from young people. So at schools, at universities. I have a daughter at university myself, and she's feeling very vulnerable and worried at the moment in university because of what's growing there and what is being experienced there by Jewish students. So no surprise, sadly. It's what we do about it, obviously, that's important. But I think for the young, anti-Semitism is quite worrying.
One of the discussions that we've been having, Rabbi Mason, over the last couple of days is what constitutes anti-Semitism. And, you know, you're the expert on that. We are not. Some people have been saying, for example, if you are someone who wears a Palestinian flag or wants a ceasefire in Gaza, can that ever be taken as anti-Semitism?
Yeah, so obviously there are instances, it's all about context here. There are people who would want to fly a Palestinian flag, you know, I don't know, outside their home somewhere, because for them, the Palestinian people are important to support and their sympathy for. But there are instances where the context is a demonizing of Israel. And that's the problem. I think that one of the big things at the moment that I think people need to think about is this large, significant demonizing of what people would call Zionism. Zionism really at base is the importance to the Jewish people and to others as well of the state of Israel, there being a Jewish state. That's really at base what it is, rather than some complicated ideology. And I think that's really the start of this for me, is that because there is a large demonization of Israel and a demonization of what Zionism delivered for Jewish people, that can be offensive for Jewish people and easily and quickly spill over and lead to anti-Semitism and a direct targeting of Jewish people. So of course, the idea of a Palestinian state is something that's important, that the Palestinian people have dignity, and that obviously their humanitarian needs are dealt with, and that makes what's going on at the moment difficult for many. But it's when it then becomes a demonizing and it's combined with tropes or with a conspiratorial thinking about how, you know, Zionists are bad, Jews are bad for the world.
Imam Monawar Hussain, I'd be interested to know, I mean, clearly when we talk, for example, about the protests that we saw after October the 7th, people in London and other cities within the UK flying Palestinian flags. Not all of them were Muslims. Some of them were. But in terms of the Muslim community, what kind of attitudes have you discovered? Because I presume, again, that as there are nuances within the Jewish community about what is going on in Israel and in Gaza, there must, or maybe I'm wrong, be nuances as well when it comes to how the Muslim community see that.
Yes, of course. I mean, there's great diversity of voices within the Muslim community, and really what we've seen since October 7th itself was a terrible and horrific event and a terrible shock, and deplorable in all ways. Since then, the images of Palestinian suffering in Gaza, West Bank, have really shocked the community, have caused great anguish and great anger as well. And the question for us as British Muslims or British Jews, I think, is how do we respond to such human suffering on both sides? And so I think that's what we're grappling with. And over the last number of months, I've been working closely with faith leaders, community leaders from across the communities, and asking the question, how can we, in these difficult times, work together to combat, of course, anti-Semitism, because we've got to recognize it is a huge problem. There was a rise of some 600% in attacks on Islamophobic incidents last year in November. So these are real live issues. One single anti-Semitic incident is one too many. One single incident of hate is one too many.
So within that, Munawar Hussain, I'm interested. I mean, do you, in your role as an imam, do you have these conversations where perhaps you are discouraging people from taking out perhaps their anger? They look at pictures of children dying, children who are already dead, children who are under attack, and they turn their anger on just random Jewish people within the community. Is that a conversation that you've had with any of the people that you speak to within the community, within the mosque, to try to discourage them from doing that?
Well, not just discourage, just to say that, look, this is a political problem in the Middle East, and we certainly don't want to import it into our communities here, affecting local communities, affecting friendships in our communities, and have the same issues coming here. So for me, the conversations have been about, what is it that we can do as British people living here? And I think one of the things, certainly in Oxfordshire, that we've done is to reach out and come together as Jewish, Muslim, Christian, people of other faiths, civic leaders, community leaders. And we've had a number of peace events where we've come together and we've said, look, we don't want to be on either side. We want to be on the side of humanity and on the side of peace.
Yeah.
And that's how we've tried to make some difference at a very difficult time.
Okay, Rabbi Mason, just finally, do peace events help? And what about the kind of political discourse?
I think peace events are important. I think Imam Munawar is a really good example of someone who leads a community with nuance and love and support, and the ability that we have to take different sides. There will be naturally different sides taken. Jewish people will want to, in the main, support the existence of Israel, and there may well be many in the Muslim community who will feel an important connection with Palestinians and their suffering. Of course, we should feel it on both sides, but there will be and it's about how we bring those together. And I think that speaks to your point there, which is that I think there's a responsibility for political leaders to be careful on their language. We need more politicians to bring us together than divide us. And I think there's too much division at the moment when it comes to lots of issues in our country. We know from culture war stuff, there's too much division. And I think that allows people to feel they can be polarized and sort of slip to